Right now, it is time to bring in Judy Wurtman. Dr. Wurtman, of course, wrote the incredible book, The Serotonin Power Diet, a co-author, actually. Otherwise, I'll get in trouble and get sued. But Judy not only was a co-author on that, serotoninpowerdiet.com, also Simon Loses His Tummy, and her latest book, Before Her Voice Was Still. And she joins us here on a Thursday morning. Good morning, Dr. Wurtman.
Good morning to you, and I must say I feel very guilty at not having to endure the kind of weather you're facing right now.
Well, you're getting
the
the
guilt
rain.
only goes so far. I'm delighted not to have to do it.
You're getting the heavy rain that we're going to get now on tomorrow, basically through Sunday, off and on. So.
Yeah, I mean, it's like a summer rain, just really torrential. You sort of can barely see across the street. But as I said, Marshall, when I woke up, my first thought was, oh, I'm going to have to shovel this. Oh, no, it's Florida.
That's right.
And in fairness, let's just say that it wasn't exactly a hop ski. It wasn't exactly a walk in the park getting back there.
No. Quick anecdote. We're sitting on the plane, and it snowed yesterday morning, and so the pilot gets on and says, well, we're like 150th in line to get our plane de-iced, so I'm not sure when we're going to be leaving. And then 3 hours later, or 2 hours later, he said, oh, the sun has come out and melted all the snow. So it was God's way of, I guess, de-icing the plane. We didn't have to have any chemicals put on it. Anyway, we finally managed. But unfortunately, Jill, I am not the kind of person who I wrote about in the article I sent you today. That is a workaholic and somebody who actually you just mentioned, really, who feels that his way or her demands really take precedence over everything else, and the work that has to be done is so important that rest of life is really insignificant. And I know people who work very hard and do so because they really have no choice. I mean, they like a resident in a hospital, or somebody who like a policeman who has had, unfortunately, has been given a double shift, or a fireman, or what have you. People who I cannot help but work very long hours, but that's different from people who voluntarily put themselves in a situation where they will take on any kind of work that comes along, say they will do it, feel very proud, while they're complaining, of course, at the same time, that they are giving up their sleep and giving up eating regular meals and giving up seeing their family and friends, and indeed certainly giving up going on vacations in order to get the job done. When I started looking into this, I thought, well, it must be a risk factor for obesity, but it's not really talked about as, from one of those things that you would commonly associate with difficulty in losing weight and certainly the ease in gaining weight. And there really are not that many articles written about it, linking it to obesity. Rather, more the articles tend to link it to, and no surprise there, being in a very stressful situation. And so the people who are workaholics tend to have high blood pressure. They have difficulty, have disrupted sleep. They tend to have mood swings. And by the way, they do tend to be heavier than a population who works fewer hours. And yet, but I have to confess that when I was, very involved actively in doing weight loss counseling, I would have people who would come into my office and they would tell me that they were working very, very hard, and they clearly did not have time, they would say to me, to go to a gym. I mean, what a waste of time that was, or to take a walk, or to do anything physical, or even stop working and getting up and walking around their desk. And if they couldn't follow my diet well, it was because they certainly didn't have time to go to the supermarket or to order meals or to even think about what they were eating. And they almost looked at me as if to say, well, you might think that dieting is very important, but my work is even more important. And it's a very difficult attitude to deal with.
Yeah, and it just seems...
And I must say I was never very successful because I'm not a therapist. I've never was very successful in dealing in convincing these people that really what they were saying to me was not simply they had to do all this work, but it was probably a very basic psychological problem that should be dealt with not by somebody who's helping them lose weight, but by somebody who could deal with what might even be obsessive behavior.
When you say not that's really interesting, because one of the things and not bearing in mind that I didn't go to scientist school, okay? But one of the things that seems like the best antidote to physical issues is diet. It just really seems that, I mean, I'm not being on a diet. I just mean what you eat, what you put in your body, would seem like it gave you the most control over what happened. Just seemed that way.
But you're right. And I would say to them, well, if you followed this particular diet, then perhaps, not even perhaps, I mean, there's probably been studies showing this, you will work more efficiently. You will get more work done in fewer hours of work. You will be able to, if you follow other aspects of it, be able to relax when you are finished with your work. But, they didn't want to hear that because they had to do the work.
Right.
And if it took them 6 hours because they were so tired and had such a poor diet to do a piece of work that might have taken somebody 3 hours, well, that was okay because it just justified their not being able to do anything else. It justified their not dealing with anything that might require perhaps any emotional input, empathy for somebody else. It really justified from them spending all their time on their work. I mean, I knew a woman who told me very proudly, I mean, this is years after this happened, that she worked for a very large company, and she was one of the few women in her position, and she took on a massive undertaking with a almost impossible to reach deadline, and she did it. She I don't know how to restructure a whole aspect of her department. She did it in the time, got the work done on time, but she said, I stopped sleeping. I used to I used to lean by a wall and sleep for 3 seconds or something, and then wake up again. She said one time I was so sleep deprived that I actually left my apartment building and I forgot to put on my skirt. I was just wearing a slip until the doorman reminded me that I had forgotten to wear something. And she stopped eating normal meals. She gained an impossible amount of weight during that time. But she got the job done. And I thought to myself, at what cost this was? But to her, there was no cost.
Right.
And Jill said, these people don't want to hear your advice, my advice. They want to be looked at as both heroes and martyrs at the same time.
Then what are they doing in your program?
Yeah, that's right, exactly. And I don't even know why I think the only reason that some of them came to see me to lose weight was because when they would finally go to see a doctor, and the doctor would say, you have elevated blood pressure, your cholesterol is high, you really are at risk for developing heart disease, and that is known, that's been written about, and therefore you have to start losing weight, you have to exercise. And I think the only thing you really can do is if you convince people that their health is at risk, and that, their health and their life is really important to the next project they get done, is to perhaps set up situations that they might respond to. For example, I think they probably would respond more to, a computer beeping at them and saying, you have to get up and walk around your desk, or walk around the hall, or the computer beeping at them saying, it's time to eat lunch, remember to have, a salad and some lean protein rather than going to the vending machine and eating some crackers. I mean, I think that they don't really respond very well to people telling them this, but I think they might respond to a machine telling them this because they sort of, they're all in the same boat together. But it's a very difficult problem. And as I said, we tend to combine working long hours with workaholism, and they really are two different things. People don't want to work long hours unless they have to, but workaholics really embrace that mission that they have. So,
I have a plan.
Anyway, fortunately, I don't have that problem.
All right. Well, that's always good. And I have a plan.
Anyway, hope you deal with the snow.
Hope you deal with the rain.
I'll talk to you next week.
All right.
Bye-bye.
Thank you very much, Dr. Judy Wurtman, Food for Mood.
And you can hear Judy, of course, on a Thursday morning here on Robin Hood Radio.